Hey everyone, welcome to the Fitness Devil episode 74. We got Yvette D'Entremont. Hopefully I got that right, but she's better known as the Scibabe. And really, this one was kind of cool because we just brought her on to talk about pseudoscientific stuff from Gwyneth Paltrow and the others. And we kind of just dive into the science behind some of that crap. And honestly, we just talk about a lot of things. We end up talking about porn. We end up talking about science. We end up talking about diets. And we get into some of Yvette's story. And I think that for anyone who knows her will really kind of appreciate this because she has her own podcast. And it's kind of nice to get her on here. She has the nice microphone. She knows how to talk. And I think we just have a really good flow for this one. So if you're part of Yvette's crowd, it'd be nice if you followed us, rank us, review us, and kind of share this thing. We kind of want to get this out here. And if you're some of our returning crowd, you know what? Do the same thing. We love getting posts on Instagram or kind of shares on the story. It kind of helps get us out there, but I hope you guys enjoy this one.
Shut up and sit down.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Every once in a while, we pull in a guest who's technically outside of the fitness industry. Mostly it's trainers and fitness professionals. But Yvette D'Entremont, I hope I pronounced that right.
D'Entremont.
D'Entremont.
Let it slide.
D'Entremont. But perhaps better known as the Science Babe or Scibabe. And she crusades against pseudoscience and does a lot of work with nutritional misinformation, a lot of other crazy stuff. She may talk a lot about porn today, too. We'll see how much we get out of that. But her work matters to fitness professionals and enthusiasts in our industry because it's full, rampant with bullshit. So welcome to the podcast. And I was hoping, not a long origin story, but sort of a bit of your background academically and a quick origin of Science Babe.
I for the origin story, I was bitten by a radioactive shit. I always keep mixing those stories up. I see a Spider-Man tattoo, and I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I'm moderately to heavily tattooed over here underneath the Wonder Woman sweatshirt that I'm brandishing. But moving on. So the origin story was I got the worst headache of my life one day on March 7th of 2010. Never went away. And I mean, people hear that and they're like, "Did you take an Excedrin?" I'm like, "I promise you, I have a background in toxicology. I tried the headache medicine." So academic background, just to fill those in. Bachelor's in chemistry, master's in forensics. Worked for 8 years as as an analytical chemist. Also have a theater degree because daddy didn't hug me enough. Moving on. So got that headache. And when you get something really weird with strange symptoms that you can't explain, there's no obvious cause of it, that's when you go down the Gwyneth Paltrow rabbit hole. Like there are studies showing that women are treated differently in medicine than men, where our symptoms are taken less seriously. I had one doctor, and I was very overweight at that point. Like I ended up losing 90 pounds through the course of this whole thing, because I had one doctor tell me, "Why don't you just cut caffeine and exercise more?" I'm like, "Well, shit, doc, I guess if moving more stopped headaches, then no one would ever have a headache if they just went to the Jesus Christ." Anyways, turns out I had a very rare variant on trigeminal neuralgia called Sunk syndrome. I don't want to get too far into that, but I fell down that rabbit hole of GMOs are killing me. Pesticides are killing everything in the food supply is killing me. And it's very easy to fall for that when the medications your doctors are trying for you aren't working right away. You're not finding sympathetic or empathetic voices in medicine. And it's taking a while to find an answer for something. I mean, imagine the worst headache of your life every day for 8 months before you find a doctor who even specializes in your field, or you even find a name for the specialty for what you need to know. So it took me a while. It took me a few years of believing that all the little bullshitty things I was doing with my diet were helping or not, because when you're dealing with that much pain, like varying from moving the chest, if I move this one this way, or am I gonna hurt or not, like eventually going, fuck it, I don't have to be afraid of GMO canola oil. Like not looking at every ingredient on my food was finally one day such a relief. And that's where I started eventually kind of debunking bullshit. And there are a few other things in the origin story, but I'd say in an attempt to stay concise, I'll stop there, but that was clearly not a concise answer.
No, that's actually great. I was actually going to ask you, did you ever get to the point where you really felt like taking a drill to your head to release the demons?
Oh my God, yeah. Like, it's the way that this hurts. If you know anyone with trigeminal neuralgia or cluster headaches, the pain from all of those is very similar. The way that they differ is kind of in timing, intensity, and a handful of symptoms. Basically, it feels like I am being stabbed by a knife that's on fire, and those types of attacks. And I'll also have a dull ache on the left side of my head, and it's always same location. And those really, really severe attacks will last from 30 seconds to 3 minutes. Now, with medication that I'm on, I'll maybe have a bad headache day every couple weeks. No medication, those attacks, they'll happen up to 200 times a day. I would have killed myself by now if I wasn't on the medications that were managing it, and they're just seizure meds. But like, and I don't say that flippantly. I don't say that to make light of suicide. I say that because you can't deal with that much pain without an answer every day. It's been it's been almost 9 years since it started. It's been a hard go of it, but you go back to your doctor when the pain levels change. You keep working at it, and that's like I said, I understand why people go to alt med. It's very hard when you first start with something difficult to diagnose, but going for something that's patently shown not to work is not the answer.
This leads exactly into the first question. I mean, you mentioned Gwyneth Paltrow and her website Goop, and I love fucking with prominent charlatans. Obviously, I'm pretty sure your Science Babe is a playoff of the Food Babe, Vadi Hari, who's a complete train wreck and an idiot. These are some of your favorite targets. There's a few more. And they obviously use fear-based marketing. And so you started to get into why this stuff is so appealing and very effective, why it plays upon everyday people. So the embedded question here is, how can anyone evidence-based start winning the fight against the pseudoscientific nonsense? And here's another question too. Is there any danger in naming and drawing attention to the bad guys? Because clearly you have no problem with it.
No, I have no problem with it, and it's partially because at least I feel like I've been effective, but I felt like I've been effective up until a certain point. Like, and I look at for example, Jen Gunter. I love Dr. Gunter. I think she does amazing work calling out especially Gwyneth Paltrow. And then I look at what's happened in the last few years, that every time she writes an article about her, sales go up. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, I don't know what the social zeitgeist is that's driving that, but I wonder because what's made my message or my tone of my writing so effective, I think part of it is that I try to reach people where they are. I try to break the science down to something that a 15-year-old who likes dick jokes is going to understand, because I'm basically a 15-year-old who likes dick jokes who happens to have a bunch of science degrees. And I think that that's something that people will be drawn to, even if you're... Look, I get it that there are a lot of ladies in Beverly Hills. Sorry, I just tapped my microphone. I get it that there are a lot of ladies in Beverly Hills who like their jade eggs for their yonis. But you know what? I've met these ladies in Beverly Hills. I used to live in that area. They like dick jokes too, even if they won't admit it. And that's why they'll read my writing. That's why bros will read my writing. That's why people will come to that. So I will always tell people, use humor. Mm-hmm. Please use humor. People will come to humor. It's a working formula. Just, bust it out. People will come to your science. People will find you empathetic a little bit. It's a way that we connect. So we need to use more empathy. Gwyneth Paltrow comes across as your friend. Your doctor who's telling you to, that your headaches are, maybe they're all in your head. That doesn't come across as your friend. That comes across as a condescending douchebag. And somehow Gwyneth Paltrow manages not to come across as condescending.
Well, it's because she's a movie star. Wrong. That's also another part of the formula. If you're famous for something else, it gives you social proof that you could possibly be good at that. Because she's, you know what I mean? People believe that. She's an actor. Yeah.
If you use that magical cream that she uses, you're going to look like her. And it's, it is, it's proof in the Gwyneth Paltrow bakes pudding, I guess. But, the things they don't tell you are that they're not just using that magical cream. They're going to a dermatologist twice a week. So...
We've avoided saying this guy's name for a long time on the podcast, but we're actually going here. So both Dr. Mike Israetel and Dr. Lane Norton both posted about him. Actually, I got tagged into it because they know that I'm in Alberta. About the snake diet guy. Are you familiar with the snake diet guy and his crazy shit?
I've heard of him, but you would have to fill me in a little bit. Is he?
Right. So he's local. He's here in Edmonton, and of course he's a virulent little bugger. When people criticize him, he loves the attention. And he's basically promotes extreme fasting. So if you're familiar with Dr. Jason Fung, who is another charlatan.
I've heard the name, yep.
Who promotes a lot of fasting stuff. He's taken it to another level. So there's a post about having a weight loss challenge for kids. Parents entering their kids in a snake diet. If anyone can see Yvette's face right now or her expression, you would see her reaction to this.
Go ahead and screen cap that if you want to.
We'll have to find a way to... If you go on either Lane or Mike Israetel's Instagram, it's right there. My Instagram handle is actually literally tagged in the post. It's hysterical on Dr. Mike's. So this guy's gaining traction. James Fell and I, that's how you came to be on the podcast, because by the time this comes out, we recently have released James's...
I've definitely seen this guy's videos before. I knew he was familiar. This guy, he's interesting.
He's actually insane. I think...
They need to up the haloperidol for him.
Yeah,
they need to up a lot of things.
Several things. I mean, number one, he's famous for walking around with a dildo taped to his head downtown and filming it. He drinks his own urine proudly, and he makes claims of curing HIV, cancer, and several other diseases by fasting. And now he's promoting extreme fasting of children.
In his defense, you will not be suffering from the effects of HIV if you continue to fast long enough. You won't be suffering from breathing anymore either, but you also won't be suffering from HIV. I just want to throw that out there. It's shitty science, but it's true.
So you could theoretically cure HIV by dying.
Well, let's put it this way. Yeah. It's not what's going to end up having killed you. But he's sort of someone. He's someone who, for a while there, people like James Fell were kind of ignoring because they didn't want to draw attention to someone. Now that he's sort of out there in the ether, and if I'm not mistaken, he either appeared on the Doctors.
He was on the Doctors.
Yeah, he's on the Doctors.
The Doctors were ripping him apart, and he ripped the Doctors apart.
Him on the Doctors?
Well, they wanted to fight him on the Doctors. It was him versus the Doctors, so fucking get that one. And then he basically...
Doctors tried... The Doctors invited me on and then didn't dare Mike's segment. But let's talk about the snake diet guy some more.
I didn't see the whole thing, but he actually probably got the better of the Doctors in this like weird, crazy... They're both fucking stupid, and they were both against each other, and he just sounded better than them, but that's pretty easy.
The problem with them is that they promote alternative medicine fairly regularly and bullshit things. So when it came time for them to debunk bullshit, how could they sound like their normal selves if they're trying to go after something that's, only a little bit more bullshitty than their usual stuff, really? I'm not a fan of the show The Doctors.
Well, that's just it, is they probably found someone who was, like, this guy's legitimately far too out there, even for us. So that just says how crazy he is.
He actually lives near us.
Does he?
Too. Is Cole? Oh, the Doctor.
Cole. Yeah, he's here in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
anyways, we're famous for that, too. We got Dean Somerset and Cole Robinson.
Yep.
The same light.
So, just curious, how far, other than, getting onto the Doctors once, has this guy's, and this is something I've learned from being in the public eye a little bit, like, you get onto a couple shows a couple times, people don't really know who you are, like, out in the wilderness, outside of our little bubbles, like, you don't walk down the street and have people know who you are when you have, couple 100,000 followers. I've been recognized, like, a handful of times in public. So, like, this guy gets on TV once, people don't, like, they know who he is as that crazy fucking screaming guy who thinks fasting cures AIDS. They know he's nuts, at least to a point. Like, he's worthy of a blog entry, maybe, too, on the internet.
And he's not even, like, he's not rich. So, like, you'd think, like, because he has, like, 100,000 followers on Facebook, all this bullshit.
He's in the hundreds of thousands.
But he's not rich for sure.
How many of those are train wreck followers?
Well, that's what I mean. He has no product to sell. He basically is telling people not to eat, so like you can't sell that. He's not like his message is pretty easy, so you can't pay people to be coached by you because like, well, just don't eat. And then, like, he just has... I just don't think... He's not rich. There's no fucking way because where he lives and stuff. So he didn't profit off of this.
I have no idea. I think he genuinely thinks he's helping people, which is sort of the delusion. So...
But anyways, you'd think, like, if you got on there, you're rich. Not true.
He's not as big as David Avocado Wolf or Joseph Mercola.
12 million, over 12 million followers for David Avocado Wolf. That was a hard nut to crack, and I realized after writing about him, even if I got an extremely comprehensive article out of it, I wasn't gonna make a dent in that.
No,
like that's
done.
That's like swinging a bat at the planet Earth and going, aha!
Gwyneth Paltrow would have to get on board.
I got rid of this anthill.
Gwyneth Paltrow would have to get on board and join forces. Like, you'd have to get a bunch of people to, like, really slay 12 million followers.
And that's just it. We're like flies to Godzilla when it comes to some of the followings of these people and the shit that they're putting out there. I don't know. I don't have the answer, and that's sort of kind of where we go back to
Kim Kardashian's made more money on fitness than, like, probably all these people we're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's hawking waist trainers and B vitamin / caffeine supplements. I don't know if that's what's in her pills. Please don't sue me. Allegedly, this is all alleged. She is a lovely girl. I actually don't mind the Kardashians. That's just I've never watched one of their shows. I'm not gonna bitch about them.
I've watched every episode.
You seem like you've been keeping up with the Kardashians. Wait, do you have a favorite?
I kind of watch it and pass. My wife likes to turn her brain off after work sometimes.
Sure.
Fuck, I don't know. The one that married the basketball dude. She's cool. She seems more legit than the others.
Chloe.
Yeah. She.
The only reason I know she seems, as you phrased it, more legit than the others. I had a meeting once upon a time when I still lived in LA with someone who was friends with her, and he's like, "You need to meet her. You guys will get along." And I'm like, that is the weirdest moment in my life when someone told me you two would get along. And he was talking about me, nerdy scientist, chemist person with the potty mouth, and a Kardashian. I was very confused about that moment in my life.
It was a compliment though. It wasn't meant as a dig. Yeah. Okay. So that's good.
Yeah. Everyone that I know that knows them, has met them, has said they're workaholics, they're great girls, they show up on set ready to do whatever is necessary for their job. So it's, they seem goofy on screen. They've worked hard. So
I suppose
they worked hard at being that goofy.
There's a cool point in there too, and I mean they've had staying power, and I don't think you have staying power without being professional. I mean, look at Lindsay Lohan's career, right? I mean, she's notoriously a train wreck and not showing up for anything, and now she's a nobody, just a punchline. So there may be something to that. Yeah,
I liked Mean Girls. That's still like an epic movie.
She was
a
good little actress.
Yeah, she was good. Okay, let's talk about fucking food. Because I'll talk about this all day. I
just like to tangent people. It's fun.
Please, by all means,
don't get understood. Okay, there's this one thing we kind of looked into some of your background and stuff, but like Brian Wanzik and his Cornell.
So you found the pictures, is what you're saying.
We found some stuff, but basically about his Cornell Food Lab.
Don't blame me. Someone handed me the alligator. Okay.
Well, the thing is, like, what it's famous for is his food research, like the bad popcorn study. Only to have 15 of his studies retracted and ended up disgraced and his body of work questioned. Can you kind of explain the deeper meaning or like what happened here and the implication for our work with nutrition?
All right, so Brian Wanzik, head of the Cornell Food Lab, he was one of the first people who made me very excited about nutrition science, and not just like I want to debunk these people selling bullshit. He would come out with new studies, and they would explain why you make these little decisions about what you do. Why are you choosing the pizza at the buffet line? Why are you filling up a second time? What are these little tricks you can use to make yourself eat less or eat healthier? If you use a smaller plate, you're going to eat all these little things. And here's the thing. All of a sudden, these stories are coming out of there, and we found this out from some really amazing reporting from Stephanie Lee over at BuzzFeed. And a couple people have been tracking the story, but Stephanie was really hot on this. They ended up retracting, I think at first it was six in a day, and I believe a total of 13 papers. Go ahead, fact check me on that if I'm off on the numbers. But they found all these papers that had been p-hacked to death. They would go in at the beginning of a study with a certain variable that they were studying in mind, and when they didn't get any significant results on that, they'd be like, well, go ahead and look at the data and see what you got. And there are ways to safeguard against this in research and publishing, but there are very few of these standardized and in place. So they really played fast and loose with p hacking to get some bad studies out, and it's unfortunate because it mars, or at least I think in the public eye, it mars a lot of the work, what might still be very good work that Wansink did, which is never mind just Wansink, but all the other researchers at the lab did. And I don't know how long it's going to take to rebuild that. All of that really good. That wonderful reputation that they had for such a long time.
There's so much of this. Like, these studies are fairly ubiquitous within nutrition literature, behavior change literature. This stuff is everywhere. And
yeah. How many places have cited this?
Tons of books that I've read. Like, the bad popcorn study might be one of the ones. And if anyone hasn't heard of this, so I think what they did is they took like 6 or 7 day old stale popcorn and gave it to people in movie theaters. And it was terrible. And I think it was the bag size. Even if people knew this stuff was horrid, the larger the bag they gave to people, the more popcorn ultimately they measured at the end that they ate. So it goes to serving size containers. You mentioned small plates or size of glasses.
Yeah.
And the thing is, all of this stuff is so intuitive that even despite what has happened with the research, like, I'm really struggling to take any of this stuff and pull it out of the way I think about nutrition. So what do you think about that?
I think now some of the earlier studies, I would, now it's hard to say which things are real and which things aren't. I'm not going to say any definitive statements on which studies I would trust at this point or not, because that is very bad science to put an opinion out there on these until we look for closer into them. And I'm sure that there are people looking over them now. But I would say, if anything, the earlier work is probably more likely to be reliable, because over time, one of the things that came out was there was so much pressure to publish, and that's how you keep getting funding, is publishing, and you have to publish early and publish often. So you do a study that takes 6 months, 2 years, and you don't get any useful data out of it. You're much more likely to get published if you get positive findings and if you get negative findings. So that's why over time, I would guess you got more and more, or you got a higher percent chance of getting bad studies out of there. Like I said, I could be wrong. That's just that's just what I would lean on. But even this does point to a bigger problem within academia of there being such a push to publish that people are that people aren't turning in studies that can be replicated.
The thing that stresses me out, and again I go back to it, is just how ubiquitous some of these studies are in the literature, and the way that we as anyone who deals with nutrition thinks. I think it's a pretty safe recommendation to say to someone, hey, eat food off a smaller plate. Well, that research was done here. So all of a sudden it's like, well, do I stop saying that? And I think some of the stuff still sounds like common sense. I just hope that someone goes over it with a fine-tooth comb. Some of it's replicated, and maybe we'll get some answers to whether or not this
I think you just get information, though, because it was like we talked about this too. I don't remember who we talked about it with, but obviously eating after 9, and maybe it was Brian Crawley, eating after 9 isn't scientifically proven to lose weight.
Donnie Singer.
But like for some people that might actually help. You know what I mean? Even if, like, obviously it's calories and blah 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 blah, but like there's strategies.
Some people,
for coaching.
if they start eating. And some people, the thing is, if you start eating late at night, it just triggers a habit for you of like, I'm going to dig into the cookies if I eat now. So it's like, it's not the calories, it's the habit that goes along with it that might be what you have to nip. But, and it's the same thing with the plate. It's not that the plate automatically contains those. It's what's your habit when you take that bigger plate. So, it might be that you don't want to go back for a second serving if when you've already filled up that one plate. So, what, even if there isn't, if it hasn't been replicated, even if it came out of that lab, there's no need to go back on something like that if it does seem kind of commonsensical and it's been helping. But, it doesn't hurt ever to see a replication study on this. And I would like to see replication studies on Wansink's work. Yeah.
I mean, he's not telling anyone to drink their own urine, so he's probably safe.
He's telling you to eat off a smaller plate. This is not that bad. If this is the worst it gets.
Yeah. No one's going to the hospital for eating off a smaller plate. Let's take this a little further.
That you know of.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for fitness professionals who they're evidence-based in how they navigate dealing with people? When they encounter people with that deeply held conspiracy theorist, pseudoscientific belief system. I think you encountered a lot of those. And can you address the dangers of stepping outside of scope, both to combat these beliefs, and then, of course, the flip side is when actual fit pros are promoting nonsense. So a good example is a fitness professional encountering a client who is an anti-vaxxer and going near it.
That fitness professional also promotes bullshit himself. It's like, you need to be paleo or you're not going to be okay.
Or you get the fitness professional who is an anti-vaxxer spreading that kind of shit, right? So we see shit like this. So have at it. Anywhere you want to go with that conversation.
Oh, well, I mean, here's the thing. I always say if you want to get somebody to start thinking outside of their current scope, get them to start asking questions of their own beliefs. Get them to examine themselves. So the Socratic method works wonderfully. Why do you think that? Where did you get that information? Why do you trust that? Where did you find that out? Who told you? Have you fact checked that? And I'll start asking this. And the other thing is, ask kindly, don't ask in a confrontational manner. And I say this as someone who has to use some restraint when not getting angry at some of the bullshit that I've heard over the years. But, we're not going to get anywhere if we're dicks and we just scream at people that they're wrong. You have to try to walk people, ask someone to examine their thoughts and their beliefs on something and how they got to there. And I think we'll get further with a little bit of kindness, a little bit of understanding than with screaming. But oh man, if you've got a trainer who's starting to spew some bullshit at you that anti-vax is the way to go and that you can't have Diet Coke because it's gonna turn on your pancreas into making you store fat, just get the fuck away. Don't do it. Either that or just ignore that part of your trainer's work if everything else is fine.
I think the anti-vax example is a little on the extreme, but we know it exists. But,
yeah.
But trainers definitely wander into it. Like, fuck, we're talking about Snake Diet guy, and he promotes all kinds of crazy crap. But I've seen other ones who they wander into, well, fuck, one of my pet peeves, I don't like shitting all over keto or intermittent fasting across the board.
I do.
And I said this, the reason why I post on Facebook is because there are going to be clients who are going to want to explore this stuff. And when me as a trainer and my clients and potential clients follow me, when I'm unilaterally negative about these things, but then they get curious because they're cousin or sister or whatever is doing it and they push them, because I've seen tons of this with keto. Yeah. If I'm all negative about it, well, they're going to go and do it anyway. They're just not going to bring me in the conversation. So I want them to actually bring me into it, because anyone who's in the know knows that there's no special properties to keto or intermittent fasting. Yeah. But they can be systems that may at times work for certain types of people. So I guess that's the stuff where a trainer is just telling everyone that they need to do keto. Keto's for everyone. Intermittent fasting is for everyone. Like, navigating that. Thoughts?
There is I know one diet that's perfect for everyone, and I've tried to drive this home in my writing. Like, anytime I write an article debunking a diet, I'm not debunking that eating that combination of foods can make you lose weight. I'm debunking that some of the more extreme claims that it's going to cure your gonosyphil herpal AIDS or whatever it's claiming this week. But there's nothing magical in keto. Like, there are a lot. I wrote an article about this last fall, and there are claims that it turns you into a fat burning machine, and you get a metabolic advantage and burn more calories per hour. And there have been studies into this showing that at most there might be about 100 calorie advantage per day at the beginning of the diet, and that goes away fairly quickly. You do lose a little bit more weight the first few weeks to a month, and it's all pretty much water weight because carbohydrates complex with water in your system. And I'm saying things that I'm sure your listeners already know because because a lot of them are fitness people. But after about a year on equal calorie diets that are low carb or low fat, people tend to lose about the same amount of weight. It's the big thing is dietary adherence. If a vegan diet works for you, fucking do it. If keto works for you, fucking do it. Talk to a doctor, talk to a registered dietitian, do what works for you, and make sure that, make sure that you're just don't be a fucking idiot. Please don't live on the Twinkie diet. Like, I'm not saying that it's not going to make you lose weight if you live on 1,500 calories a day of Twinkies. I'm just saying it's a really bad idea.
Well, I was going to say, if the snake diet and drinking your urine works for you, would you go as far as to endorsing that?
No, I have my limits.
I guess it depends on how desperate you are, and that goes that whole conversation of the quick fix. If it maybe works, I'll try it.
People are drawn to it, though.
Depends on where you're at. And seriously,
there was this Facebook group that was, it was one of these really, really wooey groups that I think it was called Distilled Waters, and it was about drinking your own urine
Distilled
for health.
Waters. Is that code? That must be code.
For continually cycling that fluid through your system.
Well, I think people.
So I know that, so now you know that, listener. I apologize.
Yeah, I think people still actually hold the belief that urine is sterile. That's not true. Really not true.
It has fairly recently been debunked, I believe, but it is more sterile than shit, but it's not 100% sterile.
Sweet.
But, more sterile than shit is not what we're aiming for here when selecting beverages.
It's like saying meth is gluten-free.
It might even be asbestos free. It's not, donuts are healthier than meth too. So clearly the key to good health.
Well, yeah. Meth has its uses though, I'm sure. Like if you got to get your homework done. Like maybe the stress of not having your homework done could be worse than the donuts.
Don't take health advice from this guy. I'm just saying. Don't listen. If he is selling you a supplement and he says it gives you some pep, just bring it.
That is meth.
That is meth. Let's come off the ledge a little bit. But I actually I'm 40, so I went to university and graduated 16 years ago.
Of meth, is that where we're going?
And there was no use of stimulants that I ever remember among studying. But I'm hearing now in college age people in university that the use of stimulants, I guess Adderall, that sort of stuff, is very prevalent, and that's terrifying. It's totally foreign to me.
Yeah. It wasn't. If it was prevalent when I was in undergrad or grad school for that matter, no one was telling me, why weren't they cutting me in on the fucking Adderall?
It went underground for a while because it got villainized over, I think it was the 60s. Because it was huge in the 50s and 60s because it was just meth. It was Go pills.
It's Dexedrine.
Yeah, it was Dexedrine and then Adderall. Essentially, Adderall is renamed now. It literally is just what it was before, called Adderall and colored blue. So,
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. There's a movie on it. It's on Netflix. I think it's called Take Your Pills. And it was actually I thought it was sweet because
I haven't seen that one yet, but I say this to you and to your audience with a word of caution. Anytime I see a documentary on Netflix, I always say fact check the motherfucker out.
Oh, it wasn't. I don't even think it was pro anything. It was just a history of basically methamphetamines and then biohacking and how it's. Anyways, it was cool.
All right, there's two things we could talk about. Biohacking. We'll come back to biohacking.
I think it was mine.
David Asprey. But before we go to biohacking, let's actually
brought in the Asprey, and I hear a lightning strike in the background.
Let's actually do the Netflix documentary first, and let's tackle that shit because obviously, What the Health is the one that got really nuts. It's
my god,
the vegan propaganda.
This makes me so. I wrote a thing on why you shouldn't get your health advice from Netflix documentary. Not Netflix. Me stutter pretty today. I wrote this thing on why you shouldn't get your health advice from Netflix documentaries, and it got pulled for fear of us being sued by basically every Netflix health documentary. So now this is why I'm not debunking a lot of bullshit lately because we're afraid of getting sued. But yeah, here's why you shouldn't get your health from Netflix advice documentaries because I'm gonna let you guys take on the potential for getting sued for this.
Sure.
So all of these come in with some sort of a point of view, and you start off with them most of them start off with, the world is less healthy now. Have a look at this group of people that once upon a time in ancient times, they were healthier. And then we came in and made them less healthy. Now, in what I believe it was, I could be mixing them up because I watched 7 of these. Was it What the Health that had Pete Evans from Australia, or am I mixing these up?
I won't watch any of them. And even
you haven't watched it?
No, I haven't watched any of these fucking things.
I ended up
that's
watching
great.
so many of these
You have to.
because I was trying to, put together a whole article on them. But my God, like they all turn into. Oh wait, no, Pete Evans is the paleo one. What the Health is
Vegan.
is a vegan documentary. But if they all stopped at, hey, this diet will help you lose weight. Here's the advantages it gives you. Here are the way these people felt after they lost weight or not. Fucking cool. That'd be great. Like, and if they went into some of the, hardcore health statistics on it, on, why the compelling reasons why you should consider this diet, the compelling reason, things that are going into, the obesity epidemic, why we're gaining weight, and then why this diet's great, that wouldn't be a problem. But then they push it too far. Like, they try to show that their diet's the only diet,
Right.
that you're saving the planet, that you're going to cure. Like, half of them say that you're going to cure cancer with this diet. Like, I believe in I've seen one on paleo, or on low carb, and on vegan diets that have all claimed they've cured cancer. And it's like, guys, this is just irresponsible.
Well,
Netflix, this is irresponsible.
You have to watch it, man. They had some good stuff in there, like the chicken and cigarettes. I actually turned it off at that point because I didn't know it, because I watched it when it came out. I was like, oh, fuck it. It's Saturday. And they're talking about like how smoking a pack of cigarettes is the same as eating chicken off the barbecue. And I was like, Ad, are you listening to this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have to see like if this was real. And then the veganism comes out because they literally, it's actually so funny because they don't talk about vegans. They'll like literally midway through, they kind of bait and switch you, and they're like, then they go to like a farm. It's crazy. It's so good. It's good entertainment. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Well, this
If
goes.
if you go in knowing this is going to be a propaganda film and that they're just going to be shoving this down your throat, that, like I said, this causes cancer and that you're saving the planet and all this good stuff, then, go in, get some popcorn, maybe bring a bottle of bourbon, and go in for a laugh. But, like, there are things that they say in these movies that are so over the top. Like, this is part of the reason why, like, Forks Over Knives was, like, at the time when I was struggling with my headache issues, Forks Over Knives was what convinced me first. Like, it was I would say it was my gateway drug to food bullshit, because I was like, oh wow, if meat causes cancer, maybe it's giving me headaches too. And so, like, I slowly started going vegan, and then I was like, what else in the food supply is killing me? And these things really can cause someone who's already having health problems to be really scared of what's in the food supply. And there are only, you can go on an elimination diet and find out if you have a food allergy or something like IBS or IBD, or colitis or Crohn's disease. There are a couple of diseases that, or allergies. There are a couple of things that are legitimately triggered by food. But all of this fear directed towards people that, are in some cases just trying to get enough food on the table, and telling them that, everything in the food supply that's affordable is killing them. It's kind of a horrible thing to do to an audience that is getting bombarded with conflicting information all the time anyway. Maybe try to enable them to succeed at whatever diet would work for them, instead of telling them that everything you eat is causing cancer.
Several things I want to throw in there to address those points. I think one of the problems with these documentaries is that the word documentary implies legitimacy. I think a lot of people fall for that. So that's an important thing for people to discard right away. You made me think about probably the documentary that started all this might have been Super Size Me. That's now being called into question as to whether or not his things are legitimate. So there's that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so and then that one was really entertaining. I think it probably sends a fairly good message. And then it made me think of the carnivore diet. So my best friend actually does a carnivore diet, and that sounds nuts. But the food allergy thing, the carnivore diet's actually quite hypoallergenic, which is actually one of the reasons why it eliminates the things that make some people feel shitty. So therefore, there's this appealing idea that it works. I mean, it gets taken too far. And this is Sean Baker, I think, is the doctor who's behind this. If I'm not mistaken. Go ahead.
There's also Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson's
I was going to say Jordan
daughter.
Peterson jumped on it.
Right.
They're both promoting it like crazy. And here's the thing, like, I'm sure you have some friends, some followers who are Jordan Peterson fans. I'm not out to debunk all of his things. That's not what I'm going to do right now. But one of the things he says is to speak from a place of expertise, and his daughter is not in any way an expert on food and dietetics, and she charges for consults on diets. Terrifying. Fucking stop that, okay? Just say it.
Our industry gets really hot over Peterson. So my view on Peterson, I've read his book, and I think there's a lot of really good stuff there because his book sort of more or less stays on point. But you bring him up to some of our industry, and our friend James Fell is one of them, and he basically goes totally apoplectic.
Oh yeah, James fucking hates him.
He goes apoplectic. And then
it's like you know what I would love, and this is it's all right. I'm like I said, I'm not going to get into him. I just brought it up with regards to the diet, and it's because it bothers me that this person, due to her father having that platform, gets kind of carte blanche to push this thing. And I mean, I'm very happy for her that whatever her symptoms were from, I believe it was rheumatoid it might have been either JRA or RA, which that's extremely painful.
Yeah.
Whatever was causing those symptoms, I'm glad that she found it via an elimination diet. But pushing just go all meat to everyone, that shows a severe misunderstanding of how diets affect different people, and it just, like I said, it deeply bothers me that she's charging for consults.
When she's assuming everyone has autoimmune. Like, I don't think she's assuming that. That's what she's telling people. Like, that's how the diet is. Like, it's just insane.
Well, it goes to another point I was going to make is we're talking about all these problems that are endemic in our society, and all of these charlatans, what they're ultimately doing is saying, here is a simple problem, and I am selling you the solution. Yeah. Inflammation. There's this fucking nutcase. What the hell? Lori Schmerk is her name. She's a PhD, but she got her PhD from a diploma mill online, and she actually has no qualifications. So her whole thing is that inflammation is what's making everybody bad. Obviously, Well, I don't even know much about Peter Wolf. I just know he's a fucking loon. Obviously, he's saying something that's wrong. Well, food bait. What's chemicals in food are bad?
Chemicals.
Sort of thing.
There is no acceptable level of any chemical to ingest ever was my favorite quote from her. I'm like, man, she must be starved.
But
to
telling
death
people
by
that,
now.
like, people worrying about that shit is probably worse than the actual shit at that point. Like, it's like, oh, plastic's bad, like it is. But like, if you worry about like literally everything that touches your food, there's a deeper problem there too. That's probably worse than what you were going there for anyways. I don't know. It's just insane.
Like I don't like putting my food into the microwave with certain plastic containers, but like I'm also not afraid of my food touching it.
Well, and
like,
if I made you something in a microwave and you wouldn't be like, no, don't fuck it. Maybe you would, but like you wouldn't stress about it all day. Be like, I wonder what's been in the microwave in plastic in this household, and then freaking out about it. Like that's insane talk.
Well, my first question would be, are you a decent cook? I think that's more important than the microwave and the plastic. Like, it's your first question should be, is this free of microbial contamination? And then eventually we get to the bisphenol A or the BPA, BPS contamination. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Let's ask another question.
Let's just go fucking full potato. You spent a lot of time fighting misinformation. Obviously, we've been talking about it, but like, let's go artificial sweeteners and big bad things like detoxes and skinny teas. Have you had any success? Oh yeah. Have you had any success, I guess, knocking the science into the heads of people who don't respect science and kind of buy into all this bullshit?
Yes, occasionally. I every single year I run this thing. And I mean, I know this is I'm talking about vaccines, and you just asked about dietary stuff. But every year I do this thing, the We're Doing Shots campaign, where when within a week or two of the flu shot coming out, I go and get my flu shot and do a cute little video saying, please put pictures of yourself on social media with the hashtag We're Doing Shots with a picture of your sexy Band-Aid. Every year I get more and more pictures, and every single year I get multiple emails, and I mean tons of pictures posted to social media with people saying, I was vaccine hesitant before, I didn't get flu shots before, I always thought that I would get the flu if I got them, but because of the campaign, because of seeing everyone perfectly healthy and happy getting their flu shots, I'm getting my flu shot from now on. I'm like, oh, babushka, I'm so happy.
Are you gonna hate
me? That's been, I think, my biggest victory. I mean, like, I can get somebody to stop being afraid of eating conventionally but grown produce all day long, but getting people to vaccinate is the biggest victory that I get.
Can you convince me I'm the worst? And it's not because I have any moral or ethical things tied to it. I don't usually get my flu shot. Can you convince me?
Baby,
I know.
Talk to me. What are your thoughts on the flu shot?
I don't really have anything negative or positive. I'm just lazy.
I'm gonna guess. I'm actually gonna guess. It's the feeling that you're a healthy adult and you're not as vulnerable to it.
No.
The flaw with that is
we're gonna like, remember I said earlier, we kindness and the Socratic method. We're gonna do this right now.
Yeah. I don't know.
So tell me what are your thoughts on the flu shot?
I don't really. I think it's fine. I just don't get it. I'm just lazy.
So-
I haven't, like, literally every time I go, it's like a big, long, painstaking process. I just haven't got it, and then I haven't really gotten the flu. Which I know the arguments, like, if I get one, I'm going to spread it, blah, 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 blah. I just haven't got it, so I'm the worst. That's why I said, you're probably going to hate me.
How good are you at getting your ass to the gym?
Oh,
And I'm just
know
saying,
you're going.
I saw you pull up that sleeve and
I'll go to
show
the
me
gym.
that Spider-Man arm. That's a motivated man.
I get what you're saying. You're basically going to tell me that I've spent a lot of time on nutrition, all this stuff, and really it's spending 0 time to get a shot. Okay.
Well, once you pop into you are in Canadian land, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys have free health care,
Yeah.
and you haven't gotten a flu shot. And last year when I was unemployed and uninsured, I spent $40 on mine.
Yeah. So I should
Because
get
here's the thing, you especially in cold, arid climates, the flu travels better. So it's not just that you're protecting yourself;
Others.
you are protecting people around you from becoming from getting infected from you. You are stopping you from being a disease vector and infecting 20, 30, 40 other people. How many people are you around those days at the gym before you know that you have the flu?
Yeah, that's
hundreds.
That's a good point.
So you know what? Take that. Like I don't know if they offer. I believe they offer them at Canadian pharmacies. My cousin Jennifer is a pharmacist, and I believe they offer the flu shot at Canadian pharmacies. Next time you're in there to pick up a box of condoms, because I believe in you, champ. You go in and get yourself a flu shot too.
I understand all the benefits. I'm just
he looks a little sheepish, like he's like, you're right.
Well, I know.
Want to do it.
I understand. I don't have any more. It's not like I'm not one of those people who is like, oh, I don't get sick, so I don't fucking need one. Like I understand the benefits. I just never have. And then it's always like something that I'm like gonna get, and then I just don't, and then I never get sick, so I just don't. And like that's a horrible way of looking at things, because if I did that to anything else, it would be like, oh, if something bad happens, but nothing ever does, so I don't actually have brakes on my car. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, you mentioned you're married. Before you were married, would you have shall we say plundered into unknown territory without a condom?
No.
So you're gonna breathe unknown air in the winter without a flu shot?
That's a good analogy.
I'm just saying, protect your lungs the way you'd protect your dick, man.
So it's a condom, a lung condom.
Exactly.
Like
See, you now understand vaccines fully.
That might be a better, like, that could be an article, like, because it's humorous, but it also is, like, rash enough where people like lung condom. Okay, that actually makes sense. And then they actually made sense out of a lung condom, which makes no sense. Then you may convince some people.
I feel that I could talk to the people trying to market the flu shot and say, all right, I've got a great idea. It's just you just need to get some guy who to walk in like I have the visuals for this commercial. Goes up, buys the box of condoms. Do you want to get your flu shot while you're here? No.
I've got a question really quickly.
There we go.
So how much time do you have, Dean and
Good.
Yvette? How much time do you have?
I got time.
Good. Okay, so I was going to skip a question, but actually I do totally want to go there because I think this shit's fun. So
speaking of lung condoms,
yeah, no kidding. I wanted to hear what you feel are the most abhorrent scams, the most charlatanic behavior we're encountering. I think examples would be like naturopaths telling people to forego traditional cancer treatments and putting honey on their fucking ass or whatever the hell. And then I thought of Belle Gibson and her lying about cancer. So I'll give the floor to you. And
I would say there are two things or two industries that I say get my top shelf horrible dangerous bullshit award, and one of them is of course the fake cancer cure industry, and I'm sorry, but no alternative cure has been shown to treat cancer. And when we show that they cure cancer, it's no longer an alternative cure. But moving on, the other one is the autism miracle cure industry, and nothing has been more damaging, more costly to these parents and to these children, more costly to the parents and more damaging to these children than these unproven miracle cures. The worst one is, have you heard of I think it's CDMMS, the miracle cure? Have you heard of this?
Not familiar with the acronym, no.
It's now, I'm apologizing now to your listeners because this is something that involves something very painful to children. Please scoot past the next 20 seconds if you don't want to hear about this. It involves basically a not to delete dilute bleach solution as an enema for children.
I've heard of this.
And the parents think that what they're seeing coming out in the toilet is a rope worm that's causing the autism, and instead it's the intestinal lining.
Oh my god.
And for your viewers that are joining us now, the listeners that are joining us again now, we're past the grossest part. But the parents think that from expelling that, all the bad behavior is going away, and that's what's causing it. And instead, the child is just petrified of this happening again, of the parent doing that to them again. So it's like they're scared shitless of their parent, and they're doing this horrible thing to them. So there are other types of treatments that parents are trying out, and it all comes back to fucking Andrew Wakefield telling parents that vaccines are causing autism. Like, they've found a handful of genes that are responsible for it. And it's like, why do we keep on telling parents that their children are broken? That's just, the autism miracle cure industry is maddening when you see how bad it gets.
I actually have a really strong pet peeve about, and this is kind of very overt and unilateral, but Hollywood celebrities pretty much talking about anything that has anything to do with what isn't their scope, which is their movies and what they're involved in when it comes to, and I know some of them talk about good social issues. When they get into politics, I'm usually kind of like, oh, fuck. But when they talk about anything that they don't fucking know what they're talking about, I almost unilaterally tune them out. So, and I know that's sort of a hard stance, but again, you've got the Jenny McCarthy is the one who really probably blew this up because of Wakefield. And was she on Oprah, or what show was she on?
I think Oprah was it, and it was it was all
show.
about greening the vaccines, because she was so sure that had caused autism in her son, and that now her son was cured from hyperbaric chambers and heavy metal detox. And here's the thing: one of the things I always throw as being the cause of autism is heavy metal poisoning, of course, from the vaccines. So the problem with that is that all the different heavy metals have different symptoms when you're poisoned with them. It's whether it's copper, iron, lead, gold, all very different symptoms. In general, the treatment is dimercaprol chelation, which is not exactly a pleasant treatment, but they're saying, look, cilantro helps with this. Cilantro, I'm sorry, but cilantro and milk thistle doesn't chelate the heavy metals out of your system. So
I understand the desire to want to help your child who's struggling with autism.
Oh, yeah.
I have a client who he works with people with autism, and it's kind of funny because we're getting into the appropriate use of language. Even saying autistic people, it is better to use language like people with autism. You were going to say something. Go ahead.
I go back and forth on which one's correct because I've been told by I'm not sure which one to say. I have been told by autistic people that they prefer autistic people, and I have been told by them that they prefer people with autism. You know what? I don't know which one is gonna be less likely to get me yelled at. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you want. When I say that, it's without disrespect. Yeah. It's because I've been told this is what's preferred, and I don't know if this is a small fringe that I've been told this by, but the reasoning was that they saw autism as being a part of their intrinsic part of their personality and neural wiring, and that it was it was fine to use that as a descriptor, but I don't want to, like I said, I could be wrong, and I don't want to be disrespectful.
I think, actually, this raises kind of a good point, because I was of the impression it kind of went one way, but this is also the sort of thing that I think if well-intentioned people use either language and someone freaks the fuck out at them, that's stupid too. I don't think it's that big a deal to be freaking out about.
It happens less often than I think people would think, because, the thing that you see the most of when someone, the thing you're going to see is the blow up over it, right? The picture, the video that someone took on the internet of someone freaking out. My brother's trans. I have a lot of trans friends. And when I've used, just not been sure, used the wrong language, here's what happened. They were like, oh, here's the correct term. I said, oh, I'm sorry. They said, no problem. And I went on using the correct term after that.
You didn't go shut the fuck up and
99% of those kind of interactions. And yes, now there's a video of an individual losing their fucking mind in a store. Yeah. And it's really, really unfortunate. Unfortunately, it's been memed and blown up over everything. And it's being used to demonize or cast negative light on the whole community, and that's entirely unfair. Is the individual's reaction probably proportionate to the unintended slight? Goodness, no. But it does draw attention to the fact that being conscientious of people and not being an asshole to people is important. But also the portrayal of this video and what it's being used for to attack trans people and their rights is also complete bullshit.
Yeah, I think it's the thing that, to a lot of people who I was about to say don't know trans people or don't know they know trans people, because they're everywhere. I think this seems new to a lot of people. So they're like, what do we do with how do we? It's like, you just treat them like everyone else. Don't fucking ask them questions about their junk. You call them the words they want to be called. Like, it's like, I know that people get like antsy about the term misgendering, but like, if I just called you a girl because I insisted that I heard you were born a woman, like, wouldn't it infuriate you? It would on some level annoy you. Like, if there was no good reason for it, like, you appear on every level to be a man, and I just was like, no, I heard you were born a woman. I'm gonna fucking do this to you. How fucking shitty of a human being would I be if this was the thing up my ass,
You're
right?
an asshole. You're a total asshole doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll have some fun here. For everybody who's talking about that stupid movie Bird Box, with Sandra Bullock in the fucking
I haven't watched
blindfold.
it.
Go watch The Birdcage, which I watched when I was young, and it's a great movie. Go watch that.
So good.
Right?
Is that the same movie? Like,
No, they're not the same movie.
Okay.
No. It's based on La Cage aux Folles. It's yeah. Anyways, but yeah, moving on.
What does the Bird Box have to do with trans people?
Bird Box has nothing to do with trans people. Birdcage does.
Oh,
so.
gotcha.
Yes, we have.
No, I was just trying to tie the
we have
connection,
trans.
because
Wait,
if I don't know
trying
it,
to
someone
remember.
else doesn't know.
I'm trying to remember if there were actual transgender people or if there were cross-dressers.
It was cross-dressers primarily,
It's
but
slightly different. But here's the thing: it is a large umbrella in the LGBTQIA community. But there's I just, like I said, if you're the person who has that much of a craw up your ass about not calling someone by the pronoun that's apt, like, just fucking, like, smoke some pot and get over it. Seriously,
Yeah.
that's my advice.
Since we always like jump in things, like, did you end up watching Die Hard? Because that was probably on your Facebook. I think that was on your Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So and did you analyze the evidence? So this is just a backstory as to whether or not it qualifies as a Christmas movie. So did you find out if Die Hard does qualify as a Christmas movie scientifically?
I feel very sorry to say I still haven't seen Die Hard. It's on a very long list of movies that I am an awful human being who should be banished to the abyss for not seeing. But in my defense, I had a power failure, so lost a few hours of availability to watch movies. So it was, and that
overrated.
There's a power failure in Die Hard, so it's part of the plot. I won't give it away.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess I'll watch it eventually. Like, I have to take a couple trips to Spain pretty soon, so I'll just sit there and I'll download a few things to watch on the flight.
I'll say a couple things. One, it's a Christmas movie, and I watch it every Christmas or Christmas Eve.
N equals 1.
It has Christmas music, and it's set during Christmas. So those are two big things right there.
Okay.
But if someone wants to watch it just for Alan Rickman's performance as the main bad guy, he's incredible. Like, Bruce.
How did I not know Alan Rickman was in it?
Oh, he's sensational. In fact, it's probably the movie that made him famous. He is absolutely spectacular. And then Reginald Vell Johnson, famous for Full House, he's also in it, and he's really, really good too.
And Full House is a Christmas movie, so that...
Full House is... You're thinking of Home Alone.
Oh, yeah. Wrong.
Full House is a television show with Urkel.
Fuck.
Full House is cringy now.
Yeah.
Did you try to get through a single episode of Fuller House?
Yeah, I did.
No.
I actually got through 4. It was like bad.
No.
Fuller House is the one on Netflix.
Fuller House is the
when they all came back.
Netflix reboot.
Yeah.
It was not
It's
that good.
so
It was kind
bad.
of it was like a lot of inside jokes. It was just like
Yeah, like, you watch the first episode and you're like, maybe they're doing these throwbacks just to be cute and it'll
All
get
throwbacks.
better. Next episode, it's not getting better.
No, it's all
Like,
throwbacks.
It's just so bad.
I don't think I finished it. I did not finish it.
I'm just hearing this thing now where apparently young people, we'll use the term millennials, are watching Seinfeld Discovery and are really offended by it.
Well, of course they're going to be offended by
What
it.
the fuck is
Here's
all...
the thing. If you watch things from like I think every single decade or so, every 10 to 20 years, you go and you look back at the shit from last generation, you go, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I don't think this is a Gen Z, whatever the fuck the next generation, because like I'm technically, to quote Eliza Schlesinger, I am an elder millennial. At 35, I am the top.
You're
of the
Gen
group of
X's
us.
you're the middle one.
I'm either a Xenical, or which is a bullshit term for those of us born at the beginning of the 80s, or I'm just a millennial. But like, looking back at the shit that we made jokes about in the 90s, like some of Jerry Seinfeld's stuff was a little hacky. I'm not offended by any of it, but I'm like a little. But like some of the Friends jokes, especially, like go back and watch Friends. Like, hey, look, we're gonna make fun of Monica because she was fat once. Like, how is that well-written comedy?
But like back in the day, that would have like
Go back and watch anything from All in the Family.
Yeah.
Holy sweet mother of God. Right?
And I mean, I think the thing that made All in the Family work was they put that bigot on TV, and then they were like, we're trying to make him less bigoted. And the funny thing is, the reason why that works but Roseanne didn't is because, well, it was a little unclear about if Roseanne really was bigoted, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
Forgettable Roseanne. Exactly.
Just,
so there's a lot more things that are offensive.
I rarely watch movies, but I just went to see the new Clint Eastwood movie, The Mule, where he's like 90 and oh my God, he looks decrepit. He looks fucking decrepit, but he's hysterical.
He's awesome.
And his character, much like his character in Gran Torino, I think he's the same character. He's not, but he's sort of. He's a little less crotchety in The Mule, but he ends up running cocaine for the Mexican mob. And the Mexican gangsters are spectacular. They love him. They're hysterical. They are great. But yeah, he ends up saying in his character being an old war vet, some racist shit. And
basically stuff he says at home.
Yeah. It's clever how they sneak it in just to sort of highlight it. It's certainly not offensive. If anyone watched it and they're offended by it, like, sweet mother of God, you're trying to be offended, right?
I mean, there was a quote from Winston Churchill, who, God forbid somebody quote him now, because he was he did things that they should be bad by any day standard, but are horrible by today's standards. Like he had a quote, God forbid I'm butchering this quote, but heaven forbid we judge people from yesterday by today's standards of ethics. It's like, what are we going to look back at today, 50 years from now, and go, oh my God, we're
the worst,
fucking this up. Like, we all are. I look back at things from 5 years ago and go, oh my God, that is cringy as fuck. Like, we all do, right? I think that's pretty normal. We're getting better.
It's actually,
as long as you're getting better, I think is the kind of the key thing there is, like, are you getting better over time? Because if that determines whether you're a half decent individual.
You're making a great way of portraying it. And it's funny that you mentioned Sir Winston Churchill, because it was actually James Feller wrote an article, and James gets pretty left, and even he was shitting on this lunacy. Yeah. An astronaut had quoted Winston Churchill, and he got some flack by.
That was who it was.
This is totally.
It was Chris Hadley, I think.
It's some pretty extremist shit, as far as I'm concerned, to criticize this nonsense. And the astronaut apologized for quoting Winston Churchill. I mean, Christ, this is like one of the most important men in the history of Western civilization and what good he did. And you're just being told to apologize for this crap. It's a bit much, I think. And even James criticized it.
There are always going to be people that we look back at through the lens of what we know now and go, yeah, they did some great things and they did some horrible things. We can't discount every last person for doing the things that at the time we were like, oh yeah, this is like, what if, say, 200 years from now, we have, for example, abolished all meat consumption, and we look back at everyone now and go, oh, the people who weren't vegetarians were barbarians. Like, I'm just, who knows?
Could happen.
That could be a thing. It could, for example, we could look back at everyone even 50 years from now, and it could just be gone, and we could be looking back and going, but that person was a meat eater. Like, and I highly doubt that. Highly doubt. But, how are we what's going to be the thing that we are all fucking up right now that we're going to be judged on 50 years from now? And I think it's unfair to do that.
Domestic pets.
Political correctness.
Zoos.
It might go the other way.
You can really paint anything bad depending on the context. Like, is it having dogs? Like, we basically bred dogs.
the stuff that's bad in every context, I think that's the
if it's generally bad, as long as we're clearing that shit out.
This paraphrases what you're saying, and I believe this. I think it's actually kind of dangerous to look at the past through the social lens of today. There are some things, slavery, for example, that's just unilaterally bad under any circumstances. Yeah. But I think it's still also a little bit dodgy just to judge everything by the political correct lens of today. So I think
I get it. Like we're not going to look at George Washington owning slaves and say it's fine because he was George Washington. We're going to look at it and say this was a bad thing, but he also presidented okay. So we're going to talk about that.
Right. And you can compartmentalize those stuff. I'm actually not that good at it. I tend to think of, if somebody is like guilty of being a sexual offender, for example.
Oh, yeah.
When someone brings up Tupac Shakur, I've said this one before, and they're like, oh, his music's great. I'm like, the guy was convicted of sexual assault. Why are you listening to his music? So even I can be a little bit of hard ass about some of that stuff, but yeah, I think some people can compartmentalize those things apart.
Yeah, it's like lens of history is easier. The stuff that's right now is I'm curious how the people who defended R. Kelly defended him when there was a tape, visual evidence of him pissing on a 14-year-old. I just want to know. And there were women, famous women, who defended him, who were advocates for Lady Gaga. I'm fucking looking at you. It's
because of his song. He had like the song. Like that's why. Like,
Ignition was so big. Was a good jam, but fuck you.
But like that, but that's what I mean. Like that's the thought process. Like, what Ignition? Like that's why he was so famous, and people because they liked him. Like that's the fuck. Anyways,
for the listeners who have held on after we've gotten loose here.
Sorry, my answer was the reason why they defended him. The reason why I defended him was because of Ignition. Like that has to be the only reason.
This has been spectacular.
Which isn't good.
It also goes to. There's a point that was, if you saw the documentary, it's really, really good, and the horrible thing about it is that however bad you thought R. Kelly was before seeing this documentary, he's way worse, and that's something I didn't think was possible. It was I already knew he pissed on a 14-year-old. How much it's a lot of yikes, but it's the number of people who knew, and it's because we don't listen to societally for a long time. We don't listen to women when they come forward with accusations against powerful men, as we talked about in a discussion before we started recording. But we don't need to get too deep into that.
Sweet. I really don't.
Awkward silence.
It's not even awkward. We just would need a whole podcast to talk about it. So instead. Let's do the book one because we always need.
We're running out of time anyway, so this has been absolutely amazing, Yvette. I really do appreciate you showing up here. So, as a well-learned individual as you are, do you ever step outside of the textbooks and read anything, fiction, nonfiction, that you found particularly valuable, personally or professionally profound, that you would share with everyone listening?
It is not profound. And it is such a stereotypical answer, but I will go back to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy over and over and over again. I first picked it up when I was in grad school in England. It's just a stupid story, but it's one that was special to me. While I was in order to survive grad school, I was working through a temp agency, and my assignment that day was mopping floors at an elementary school, and I had a half an hour to kill before my assignment started. So into the school library, which didn't seem creepy at all, of course, and picked up Hitchhiker's Guide. And I'm like, I'm going to go buy this after I leave here. So that was my intro to Hitchhiker's Guide, was in an elementary school library while I was waiting to start mopping floors while I was trying to survive grad school. But go read that.
We've occasionally mentioned, or a guest has mentioned, the value of reading fiction. There's several points to that. One is it takes you outside of the stuff that sometimes people get caught reading too much. It can expand your creativity as a fitness professional or working in any field that you're talking to other people, or you have something to fucking talk about with people as you coach them, right? Like Game of Thrones, like the value in watching Game of Thrones, outside of the fact that it's actually really good television, is a lot of your clients are watching this.
Imagine if you read it, Andrew.
What?
Get into that bullshit.
I haven't watched. this is not I'm not one of those people who's hating on it. I haven't watched an episode of Game of Thrones. I have a plan. I'm going to wait until it's 2 weeks before the final season and binge the whole first, the first 7 seasons. That's my plan.
Yeah, it's a way better plan because then you don't have to wait.
And that way I don't get attached to anyone. Like, I hear people keep dying. Yep. That seems to be a trend.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
I don't want to get attached.
Well, I shouldn't spoil it too much, but I think the 2 most famous actors in the first season, you figure are probably going to be main fixtures. They get killed fairly quickly.
I figure everyone's I have no attachments. I figure everyone's going to die. That is my thought going in. No one is. It's a horror movie where Drew Barrymore gets killed. Scene 1. No one's safe. We have to put the danger level up there. That's where we're setting the stakes. I'm prepared for this.
That was one of the Scream movies where she gets killed right at the beginning. I think Scream 2.
I think
Scream 2. Yeah, there's Scream 2.
Scream 2 or Scream 1?
Scream 2. Actually, maybe you're right. Maybe it's Scream 1.
I think you are correct. It's been
seen Scream in a while.
Those came out when I was like. I was like a hatchling when those came out. I was like a freshman in high school. Yeah. That was back when I didn't know things. I was young.
Well, it's kind of weird. Like Skeet Ulrich he's the Johnny Depp looking clone, and he was a high schooler or playing a high schooler in the first one. He ultimately was the killer. Sorry, spoiler. And now he's dad on Riverdale. It's like Luke Perry is a dad on Riverdale. And Luke, if he's not in his early 50s...
The thing about Luke is from 90210. I still can't get him out of my head.
He was like a 27-year-old playing a teenager.
He was old on that.
I know. like
not old, but, old for being 17,
I don't think anyone on that show has been able to untypecast themselves.
They're talking about actually rebooting the original and bringing them back. There is a conversation.
But they did that already.
Not
Brian... One of them has. Brian Austin Green typecast him just as he was in the show on a guy who was banging someone much younger than him.
Because they're just part of that era.
And then he married Megan Fox. So
yeah.
I've seen all those episodes too.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying my mom watched that, so I've watched. So I've seen it all. Anyways, sorry.
I grew up on that shit.
It's ditto. It's the 90s.
See, now we look back. We look back and how fucking dumb that show was. Anyways.
Actually, it was really important. I'm going to do this.
Oh,
It was really important because it brought to light a lot of relevant issues like teen pregnancy and all these other sort of things. Right. So you can make fun of it all you want, but actually it was one of the first shows to have those conversations. It was culturally really important.
Yeah, so is Teen Mom.
Hey, Saved by the Bell was what I grew up on, I think, a little more. And that's so, in retrospect, it is so bad. Zach is an awful human being. Like, not a funny, awful human being. He sets his friends up to get injured, I'm sorry, he's a bad person. And it's like I said, it's looking back in the 90s and going, what the fuck? Like, I'm sorry, we can love our John Hughes movies. We can also admit they're a little rapey at times. Like, there are things we can look at and be honest about in retrospect, even if they were, quote, normal at the time.
Well, shit. So. Screech is in jail. Dustin Diamond is in jail.
What are you in jail for?
Fuck, something terrible. Some sort of horrible sexual bullshit.
Did he go to jail, or was it just that sex tape? There was the sex tape with the dirty Sanchez.
No, motherfucker's in jail. I'm sure of it. Someone's got to fact check that.
It's not for the Sanchez.
No, whatever he did was bad.
Do you know where you can find Dennis Haskins, aka Mr. Belding, now?
No.
Every so often, he shows up to karaoke down at, I believe, the pier in Santa Monica, or that part of the universe. That is what I've been told. I have not witnessed this for myself, but he's apparently a karaoke king.
There's this beautiful graphic that is just an internet joke, but it shows The Rock as Slater, it shows Mark Wahlberg as Zach, and it shows Michael Cera as Screech, and it's like as if they're going to cast them in the live, like the movie that is a remake of the original.
Kind of like Baywatch.
It'd be perfect, yeah.
Oh my god.
Mark Wahlberg, like his only mode when acting is angry Boston guy.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Seth Meyers would be a really good, like, ain't I a stinker? Like, he's kind of Bugs Bunny in a way. There's kind of this.
I want Ryan Reynolds. If Ryan Reynolds had like the
Ryan Reynolds would be great for that
because he does that stupid talk to the camera and like I'm a fucking asshole. That would be great.
It's like Deadpool without the powers.
Yeah, and he would just have to like clean up his speech a little bit, like no like real bad swearing, but like I think he could do it.
But Saved by the Bell modern day there might be swearing.
That's true. But then
But yeah, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Okay, we've
That'd be the
decided that.
casting today.
So something else we have to... Oh, no, you first?
I feel like
We should just submit this somewhere and rake in our millions.
I feel like your graphic should be. We always do a graphic for the promo. It should be like Saved by the Bell or something.
We'll see if we can... Yeah, because you haven't seen our social media. So we make up a graphic and we take our guest's head, and Dean photoshops this terribly photoshopped block onto some sort of famous image, and then we put in a title. But it's great. Nick Tuminello, one of our guests, he made it as his like background photo on his Facebook. And we haven't decided what we're doing with James yet, although we'll have to come up with something really horrible for James.
Oh, see, I love James. What should you do for James? Because he, because look at his website. You know how there's like a little lightning thing on his website because life changes? You should make him into Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I should do that or put him on a Jordan Peterson
give him the
book.
lightning strike, and you can tell him it was my idea. Like, just if he gets mad about it.
He kind of looked like a wizard.
We
Like
can make
James kind of looks like a wizard.
We can make him Voldemort, so we'll see. He'll love that.
That'd
No,
be hilarious.
I think Harry Potter would work. Cool.
I think I'll make him like a super nerdy wizard.
Now, I'm because you're going to just not do it, so I'm going to totally do this. Seeing as we do want to create something fun for your social media, but we also want people to be able to find you. So some of our core audience may not necessarily know who you are yet. Actually, a couple of old friends of mine, Ori and Renee, are huge fans of yours, and I told them that...
Hi, Ori and Renee. Nice to meet you via podcast.
Yeah, they're going to love you. They're going to love this. So...
Oh, wait, can we call them right after we get off of this?
You could.
Probably.
That'd be fun. Cool.
Yeah, and... Oh, fuck, who knows? Maybe I could see if I could dial them up. Yeah, so we want to let our people know where they can find more of your stuff, your website, your social media stuff.
Cool. So I am at the Scibabe on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at me stutter pretty today. I am at facebook.com/Scibabe, and I'm at Scibabe.com.
Nice.
And occasionally I write things for the outline and self.
Nice.
You have a blog.
What's that?
What else do you do?
Yeah, your podcast, your porn podcast.
Oh yeah. I'm one half of the Statler and Waldorf of porn. We review. You know how there are people who read Playboy for the article? We watch porno for the plot lines. No, really, we do.
Wow.
This is a thing that happens. I even have an invite to the AVNs, and I can't go. Oh
my god!
Which makes me so sad. Yeah. So we have a great time. The podcast is called Two Girls One Mic, and I have seen our last episode. We talked about quicksand porn. We have seen somebody be fucked by a Jack in the Box mask. It's been a very strange and weird journey on this. But so
it has nothing to do with science, though.
Nothing to do with we have had our most it was just I wanted to do something fun. I'm burnt out a little bit and I wanted a breather, but we find out, kind of when we get porn stars on the show, we ask, what's your background, and a lot of times they're incredibly well educated, so smart, have a ton of interesting things to say. Mercedes Carrera was on. She has, I forget if it's a master's or PhD, but she worked on like getting the optics the optics or the lenses thermally sounded on for the space station. Like, she is a literal genius, and she does Latina MILF porn. Wow. There was just no industry for what she did. She's like, yeah, there were 3 companies and one of them went out of business or something. Like, I forget the exact story, but I mean, she was so smart, so well spoken. Our first guest that we had on, Ella Darling, master's in library science, and now she went from running a VR porn company, still does that, to now running a VR communications company, so people can communicate with their friends and relatives in VR.
So guys,
there's a future.
I was going to say, go check out Two Girls One Mic if you're interested. So I hope you get a few new subscribers from that one.
Don't do the Two Girls One Cup. That's wrong.
No, I still haven't watched that.
Neither have I.
Which is funny because that's the name of your podcast, essentially.
Yeah, but I learned the lesson that when somebody tells you, "Hey, this tastes awful. Here, taste this," don't taste it.
Yeah.
Dina's nothing.
No, context-wise, it makes sense because they basically.
I've heard that you shouldn't watch Two Girls One Cup. So when everyone's like, "This thing is awful," it has a zillion views. I'm like,
it had a zillion views because that's when videos weren't big. So when there was a video on the internet, it was like just shared. So it wasn't like a YouTube. It was physically shared. Like, so which is insane.
Oh,
Like
God.
I would send
This
you
was
an email
pushed
with
into your
it.
face.
Yeah, like here,
Oh,
read this.
man.
This is a video. It's in a movie file. Like the internet was crazy back then. Anyways,
I was just going to say, to those who survived this episode,
yeah.
who are hearing us for the first time, I'm Andrew Coates. Dean Guido is the other voice you've been hearing. And so we've had a few more podcast episodes. And by the time you hear this, we'll have released James Fallon. James and Yvette are good friends. So if you want to check out James, maybe you check out one more of ours, and then you might find some other fun stuff. We do fitness, we do nutrition, a lot of philosophical industry stuff versus a lot of really technical detail. There's lots of stuff out there.
We just like to shoot the shit, is what he's saying, and then we talk about stuff, and it's fun. So.
And for our listeners who've been listening to us for a while and are finding Yvette, Scibabe, for the first time, guys, go check out her social media. She's actually brilliant with debunking all that pseudoscientific bullshit, if you haven't figured that out by now. Yvette, thank you so much for being on here. This was really cool. Like, you get these aspirational guests, you're like, oh, I'd never be able to have someone like that on the podcast, and all of a sudden here you are talking to us, and so yeah, this is cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Peace out, guys.
Shut up and sit down.